Yeah, the question is, the file that I shared, there is a task that's using DPU gen. I'm looking for a proper way to disable this task because I tried simple PyTest skip, it doesn't work. I'm wondering how far should I go in disabling them? What would be the right way to do it?
I'll have a look. I clicked on it. I opened it. Okay, I'm looking at it. And actually, I made a release of DPU Gen, and I was looking to make another release with changes that you mentioned yesterday. And I was asking for more text that changes. I'll look at this one. So you want to disable...
Yeah, so these are the tests that are failing. There is a test create unit scale config generated and then remove. I put skip on both of them. Still, either there are some dependencies or something else. Still, the tests are failing.
Okay. What will be great for me, I also logged, if you can log a issue there, I already put one update DPU gen to account for the new attribute changes. If you put one fix these scripts and just mark them that you skip them, and just put in the issues, a list of the scripts, and I'll sync the dash repo and run them myself, and I'll fix them, okay?
Okay.
You just mark them as skip them, mention them in the issue, and then I'll run and fix them and make sure they work and disable. Looking now on the spot, I cannot say for sure, disable line 3, disable line 4. I'll just do it. Yeah.
Okay. Anything else, Marian?
No, just this one question.
Okay. All right. And then I can't remember who brought it up, but I'm hoping it's someone in this group. I talked to Riff about issue 110, and we seem to think it might be recoverable by the was it the BYOD app, Riff? Well, or yeah, I think that's what it was. So Alberto was asking about last time we talked, how to modify his config to work in BMV2, and we talked about the prefix being not a list in the beginning, and that maybe this would work in the app that we're developing, Riff.
I'm honestly not super sure about this one.
Okay.
Yeah. Because there are multiple things needs to actually be done here, to really make it work. I think the underneath really the problem is actually how the Echo APIs get designed. It's just not people friendly.
Yeah, so it would require quite a bit of work to get this to work.
Yeah, the first thing is that we very likely we cannot use the option. Sorry, no, the optional match kind. The second thing is that whenever the prefix actually gets because it's a prefix list, right? So essentially it's like, how do we handle the prefix list? We need to break it down, and then once we break it down, there are more problems. Is that okay? How can we actually establish the mappings? Say if you want to do an update, what should we do? If we want to do a removal, then how can we know if the list that like people are referring to, because it's basically an entries, right? So what needs to happen underneath is that we need to save the list and then compare with the new list, and do the diff, and then do the update. So the whole process is probably not good to implement in J2 template. That is too complicated. I cannot even imagine the change. Yeah. So yes, it requires quite a bunch of work, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
even
so,
with
But even if we pass a list with one single element for BMV2 purposes, will that be something that is doable? I mean, adding support for a list, okay, sure, that's
yeah,
a big work.
it's not.
But
Yeah,
at
yeah,
least we
because
have
people
one prefix there.
yes, people support only one maximum like prefix in a match table. That means that at least when we pass in a list, we have to break it down into multiple entries.
No,
So
no,
the
no, no, no.
combination.
I'm saying for BMV2 we add it as a limitation. You can have only one list with one element, and if you pass 2 elements, you get the error. If you pass 20 elements in the list, we take the first one, and that becomes the element. Just to keep the code simple initially for BMV2. So API supports a list, but BMV2 implementation just takes the first and applies it. I don't know what's easier.
Yeah, and I know, but that is still like leaving a gap, right? So then yeah.
so yeah, so I was kind of looking around for help for BMV2 and support in general, and that kind of leads me to my next question would be, I think MSR, Microsoft Research China would be interested in helping us, but this particular meeting is outside of anything near to their working hours. And so I was wondering how you guys would feel, and this meeting also sort of overlaps with a different
Christina, I
meeting.
think
Yeah?
I think that's probably not like a completely true for this particular case.
Okay.
Yeah, because they're basically working on the HA related stuff. So
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I just
Right,
emailed him
right.
and I emailed him asking if they had interns or a group to help, and he said he'd love to help. I think his name was Xiong, but that the meeting time to actually participate wasn't friendly if I could move it. And so, would you guys be opposed to moving this meeting to a different day or time?
And so I think it probably won't help that much. Like this issue is not particularly HA related. They're mostly working on the HA related issue, like the flows, those
Oh,
things
yeah,
like
he mentioned
HA state
that. Yeah.
machines. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
he mentioned. Mhm. I just meant for additional kind of BMV2 P4 work. They were willing to help with other things, but this meeting just isn't conducive to their time zone.
Yeah. I chatted with them. So
did
I
you?
have the I confirmed with them like the because they also bring it up like to me. They said, "Hey, I received the email from Christina,
Oh, good.
and is this for like HA stuff or is this not for HA stuff?"
No, it's in general for
Yeah.
behavioral
So
model.
yeah. If it's in general, they probably like won't have enough bandwidth. But if it is HA stuff, yeah, sure, they will be willing to help. Yeah, because the HA is basically or mainly the area they are focusing right now.
Okay, so
Yeah,
we couldn't turn over, problems like this over to them. They wouldn't have resources to help with this kind of thing.
Yeah, probably not a good idea at this
Okay.
very moment.
Yeah, let me take it offline with you and I'll shoot you over email or something. Okay, great.
Yeah.
So we'll
let's
table
check
that for now.
Yeah. Well, one question is, and I actually have one question for this one. I'm not sure if anyone has the history of this one. Like why we choose to use optional in the beginning. Are we hitting any problems with like LPM or something like that?
Optional where?
For the BMV2, like for the match.
Which table?
Echo.
What you want to change optional to LPM?
Not really to LPM, but
I mean,
yeah, this should be LPM.
it should support ternary.
Yeah. Yeah, it should support like ternary
Yeah,
or
because I think it was all or nothing. That's why it's optional. Hold on, which field are we talking about?
I mean, optional and conveys a restriction that you only care about having every bit exact match or every bit
Yeah.
wildcard. And if that's what the
Yeah.
control plane wants, that's perfect. But if you want arbitrary masks, then ternary is better.
okay. Let me
You're
actually.
talking about the list match. That
Yeah,
is
yeah,
defined
yeah.
as option. Yeah, but that's
Yeah.
that's simply to have it like what Mircea described as one entry list. Simulates a one entry list.
But if you want to be able to support arbitrary length prefixes, optional won't do it.
Because for the IPs, yeah, right. For the
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah.
I mean, in my opinion, the API should be proper, and whatever hacks we do in BMV2, that's a different story. But
Yeah, we can probably do ternary.
Okay.
Or
okay.
LPM.
Yeah.
I don't think there is, unless I think LPM might have issues because there's more than one field like that. I don't know if that will work out.
Yeah. LPM has implicit in it longest prefix match is the priority. There's no separate priority for entry priority. So having two LPM fields is not supported.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So
yeah,
probably
ternary is the next best thing.
Yeah. I think ternary is probably a better way.
Do you guys need me to create a PR or suggestion against these lines to execute on, or?
Yeah, I think it's fine. So if we can change it to ternary, then we can probably just put the first one, put it in the list, and then probably will at least make that test work.
I mean, if you want to support arbitrary lists, you need some layer of software that does the cross product of lists.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, yep. That's the combination I was talking about. That's
and which layer of software that is.
Headache.
I mean, it's not difficult. It's easy to write one sentence on a slide describing it, and it's not a lot of code if you do it the simplest way possible. But which layer of software does it is maybe a tricky question. I don't know.
Yeah, it's a little bit of headache on that one. Yeah.
And obviously, it's not going to be something that lets you put in full scale configs.
Yeah.
Okay, is there anything I need to do to help with this one? You probably don't want me putting ternary in there and creating a PR, do you? Or do you?
I think it's fine. So yeah, we can do the ternary. Yeah.
Just
we can leave the comment in the issue and says we'll go with the ternary as a first step.
Okay.
Yep. That should be good enough. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. And I can do that if you like.
Oh yeah, that's even better. I'm actually mute myself, like opening a tab. Okay, thank you.
Okay, great. Yeah. So let's see. Marian, did you have anything else in particular other than the tests?
No.
Okay, all right. And then, so last time we talked, I told you guys about F5 creating the DPDK drivers for me. And then we talked a little bit about the single port and dual port design for NVIDIA. And Mircea, do you still feel single port affects underlay routing here like we talked about last time?
I mean, it's not that sure. It may affect it in the implementation. It was good to have it. So,
Mhm.
but we mentioned that's optional. So
Okay.
since underlay routing it's optional, whoever implements it will work. Whoever doesn't will not. So.
Okay. All right. So I'll just put whoever implements them.
Yeah, if it's optional, it's optional.
Great.
I think there was the discussion if BMV2 should have it. I know we made a PR to add some very basic underlay routing in BMV2. I would prefer to have it there so I can exercise the API. But I think there was a discussion about removing it from BMV2. I don't know if you remember anything about it, or if there is any concern about having underlay routing in BMV2.
Not really. I think underlay routing is actually pretty helpful because essentially, say once the data plan IP is there, we still need to decide which port it actually forwards to because we will have a CPU port over there. So in that case, like we can actually use underlay routing. We will have to use underlay routing to actually decide which port or which way a packet needs to go. So. Yeah.
Thank you, Riff. That's awesome. And Andy, have you been monitoring Google Summer Code or anything? I mean, you said people may or may not be working on it, blah, blah, blah. Have you heard anything new?
No update since the kickoff meeting. I'm not sure of I think it depends on people's
availability.
Students' summer schedules, I think.
Okay.
Students are
Okay, sounds good. I guess that I'll create that issue and we can finish early for today unless Morali or Bud or Chris have anything they want to talk about.
I don't have anything on this.
Go ahead, Chris. Hi, sorry.
Hi, actually, this is something interesting. We've talked about P4 DPDK, and that's at a certain point. I guess I don't know if you talked about it today or not, Andy. If there's any updates, or is it just still waiting for a certain issue to be resolved?
The issues, the current blocking issues are in the control plane API implementation that I'm aware of, and I haven't heard of any updates there.
Okay. And there's another software-based P4 implementation that's not released to upstream, but it's called P4TC. And it runs in the Linux kernel as opposed to BMV2, or DPDK, which runs in user space. And, there's a series of pull requests into the Linux community that are meeting some resistance by the maintainers. So if anyone, and Andy, I know you've been copied on some of those threads. There's a bit of your kernel flame wars going on there. If you wanted to throw in a vote for, yes, another implementation would be nice. And I've mentioned Dash several times as a use case for software implementation of P4. If you wanted to add your, opinion to that, it would be welcome.
I've seen the discussion. I guess I saw that Vipin Jain and Anjali are involved. If somebody from NVIDIA chimed in, that might be more weight than me actually in that, because some people seem to put a lot of weight on the hardware implementers.
Yeah, I don't know if NVIDIA has any P4TC stake, but
NVIDIA D.
Maybe you and I can talk offline about how I might. I don't want to get involved in a long, protracted technical discussion that I'm not ready for, but I'm happy to say something else.
Yeah, I mean, you can even just say, like multiple implementations are welcome, or something like that. There's a bit of, posturing and positioning in these discussions, and any support would be welcome.
What's the major motivation, Chris, for this P4TC in the kernel? What's the major driver for this?
Well, I'm not sure if I'm the best person to give a good answer, but there'll be opportunities, and Intel, for one, has been very public about this, that you could write code in P4, push it into the stack using TC, attach a Q discipline or filter, and there eventually you could do hardware offload of that on a smart NIC. So you could have a pure software implementation or an accelerated implementation using the same familiar Linux TC mechanisms. So there's a nice continuity from going from pure software into hardware offload long term.
Okay. I mean, Andy, were you aware of this? I guess you have. Maybe we should sync up offline, but given that you may have been in the loop on earlier discussion.
I'm aware of the project.
I
Yeah, and Intel definitely created it and pushed for it, but they also got AMD involved and a few others. So it's potentially interesting and useful. Yeah.
I just posted a link that's like just a really thin front page that talks about this project, and one of the first things is why P4TC. What and why P4TC. There's a link right there.
Thank you.
It's pretty good. There's been presentations at the P4 workshop a couple of years ago by the lead developer, Jamal Salim. And I personally, I'm experimenting with it right now. And, I was able to add a table to an existing demo code in a few minutes, compile it and run it, and, do a match action. It's pretty cool. So, it's trying to get upstreamed. It's, work in progress, but I think it has a lot of promise. And, if it actually does the job, it would be an interesting alternative to BMV2 for Dash, because it supports the PNA architecture, which BMV2 doesn't, and has caused, some gaps.
Maybe I'll go to that.
Yeah, thanks for the link, Chris. I'm going through that. It says it answers the what and why. First page as I'm looking at it.
I mean, a summary. So besides that linked summary, which is definitely a good thing to read as an introduction, I think. Realize there's been like a 1.5 year history of back and forth with various people who have a say in what gets in the Linux kernel networking section versus those who want this change in. So I won't try to summarize that discussion, but I just realize there's been a lot of discussion there, and it's not easy to get something in the kernel. So
yeah, that's my first feel. That's why I was asking the key motivator for that, and then fit the same constructs onto a hardware device that may have a slightly different model for for this TC behavior.
Yeah, and I won't try to dive into those nuances.
Yeah, so there are going to be gaps in when what the kernel implementation is doing today to fit the TC infrastructure, and what the actual real hardware will be in translating that behavior, because those architectures will be very different.
Yeah, I think, I'm going to defer to the experts who've done this P4TC work to defend or explain, but I haven't seen anything that raises my eyebrows.
Yeah, they don't answer that gap. The gap and translation behavior is unanswered in this, at least the opening page of this proposal.
Well, you can always reach out directly to the developer too. I mean, they're very engaged. I interact with them in real time during the day. They're helping me out. They're very responsive and, motivated.
So this is Maddie. This is interesting.
Oh, well, that's some old historical stuff.
Old stuff? Okay.
Yeah, but yeah, Maddie from NVIDIA. The more current stuff is, I would say, it's primarily being driven, from what I can see, from people affiliated with or inside Intel. But you know,
Mhm.
obviously AMD is interested in too. They're strongly in support of this.
Yeah,
So that's 2 votes of confidence from smart NIC vendors, right?
cool. And you said that the guy's name was
Jamal Salim.
oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah, Marty Salim, yeah.
Yeah, he's a net dev expert.
Cool.
So anyway, just, you know, people want to look into this. I think it's really interesting. I think it's promising.
Very cool. Thanks, Chris, for bringing that up.
Yeah. Oh, one more thing that might
Mhm.
appeal technically to us geeks is,
Sure.
you know, it's integrated into the BPF subsystem. It
Mhm.
didn't used to be, but the kernel, some of the kernel folks wanted it a more integrated approach, and they actually
Mhm.
did that, and actually got some performance improvements. And for people who know what BPF is, you know, Berkeley packet filters or extended Berkeley packet filters, they've added K-funcs in order to get certain accelerations that didn't work real well in native BPF. So they've added K-funcs to do certain things. And you could actually write your own extern functions in BPF and link them into the architecture. There's a way to do that, which is really exciting, because that means you could define things like, you know, special functions that don't exist in the standard architecture. Let's say you want some kind of a, you know, fancy register or counter that doesn't exist in the standard before, or some other feature, special hash unit or something. There's ways of integrating that in. So I think that's pretty cool. Anyway,
I'm just asking if you could shoot me Jamal's LinkedIn when you get time.
oh, we'll find it.
All
Yeah, it was
right.
previously in all the forces working group in the ITF and all that. Yeah, I've seen it.
Andy, I was thinking about those Funko doll things. Yeah. My friend collects those. Okay. Well, I feel like we diverged here. Okay. So anything else, guys, that we need to talk about this week? I'm gonna probably go ahead and connect with Jamal on LinkedIn.
I don't find him on LinkedIn, but you know, there's
Okay.
just contact us.
Oh, okay. I'll do the contact us. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm going to stop the recording. And thank you, Mircea, for doing the test work there. Appreciate that. And I assume you and Marian will just talk amongst yourselves.
Yeah, and I log an issue